Semifinals match 2, only 2 matches left to go in the tournament. Only 3 players remain, and I am joined here by Akko. Akko, hello.
Hello, I'm Akko of Alagarda Events Team. I'm one of the producers of this event. It's been incredible to watch so far. We've seen some amazing matches on stream so far. I'm really excited for us to get into this one.
Speaking of which, I think the table might be ready. Let's toss it on over to them. We see the beautiful markers, and off we go. This Charizard versus Baxcalibur match. We've seen it before. Now, what do you think of this matchup personally, Akko?
I think that the Chien-Pao should be favored here, right? It's relatively easy to find that 2-prize KO, and when you can't put up the Chien-Pao with the 6 energies, you just don't have to present 2 prizes yourself at any point. So I think that gives a pretty solid advantage for the Chien-Pao player. And of course, if the Charizard player ever tries to present a 1-prize board, you do have that Iron Hands EX to take the 2 prizes yourself anyway.
That is true. I do think that Hector going a lot of bad cards in the hand for Josh right now, cursing the fact that there's a Gengar in the hand. Not very useful in this matchup particularly. Hector, we see going first and burning that Poffin. This is pretty much exactly what you hope for as Chien-Pao, but looks like 2 Chien-Pao are prized. I don't know if Hector, I think Hector plays a third, so I think for now we're okay. Could be a little concerning if it's not there. Hector just grabbing the Frigibax and Bidoof, but that's pretty much all you could hope for as a Chien-Pao player. Going first, getting a couple Frigibaxes down, I think this is a pretty solid start from Hector's side.
I will say I don't think Josh is too miffed about going second here, though with that hand, it might be a little worse than otherwise. We do see some notable prizing here from Josh as well, but nothing more than once, so it should be pretty solid there.
The Hero's Cape could be an interesting tech in this deck. Could be a little bit hard for a deck like Chien-Pao to overcome the Hero's Cape. You need extra energy, more than you already do need to knock out the huge HP Pokemon that is Charizard EX.
And I think I did see an Arven in Josh's hand, so yeah, maybe we can save this hand.
I did too. So Arven could grab Poffin here. Nestball could grab Rotom. And then along with that Poffin, you can grab a Sealstone. So a pretty good hand for going second. Josh will get the setup going. Manaphy, of course, in the hand already, which is also a really good card in this matchup, especially given that Hector has no access to Cologne. All the Chicago Clashers today choosing to forego that Cologne. So Poffin +4 Sealstone, as we expect from Josh. Probably going to grab the full gamut of Pokemon, Pidgey, Charmander, Rotom, you name it, into Hector's Chien-Pao. Fun fact, Hector's favorite Pokemon is Typhlosion, so if you see that Typhlosion on those ability markers down there, that would be why.
Well then, why didn't he bring a Typhlosion deck?
Is there even a legal Typhlosion in the Hisuian Typhlosion? There's a Hisuian Typhlosion VSTAR, I do know that. Unfortunately, not very viable, I think.
Unfortunate.
Sometimes you cannot win with your favorites as much as the Pokemon anime would like you to believe.
So do you know if we have a third Chien-Pao in this list?
You know what? I was checking and then I got distracted, so I forgot to check. So
I will say, even without the third Chien-Pao, we have a pretty good setup here from Hector. Again, the Iron Hands EX is not prized, and we could possibly still find a way to get that 2-prize knockout here.
There are 3 Chien-Pao in Hector's deck.
Ooh.
So playing the third Chien-Pao over the Ditto that we've seen before earlier today. So Josh just going to bench the Manaphy and then Nestball for Rotom. Pretty solid start. Both players kind of getting exactly what they need, so it'll come down to the next couple turns. No slow starts yet from either player. Instant Charge, though, probably will have to find Arven or Rare Candy of some sort if Josh wants to attack next turn. From Hector's side of the field, there's only 1 Bidoof down, so ideally Hector would get out a second one to prevent it from getting KO'd. I think that's one of the best win conditions that Charizard has. And draw 3 from Josh.
I think we saw a Buddy Poffin and an Ultra Ball there. The ability use marker. Not too useful here because that does end your turn.
It does, that's true. Rotom does end your turn. Now tell me, Akko, if you had to pick one of these decks to play yourself personally, which one of them do you favor?
That's a tough question for me. I think Josh put it best when they said that they brought the two boring decks, which
Which are Zard and Chien-Pao, that's true.
yeah, in my view, if I had to pick, I think I would pick Chien-Pao because I find the sequencing a lot more interesting.
Yeah, it is.
I think Charizard also has a lot of interesting decisions to make with your quick search. Just making sure that you're making like you basically have access to your entire deck at any given time, just at one card at a time. So you have to be making the optimal decision to get the maximum percentage out there. But I feel like the Chien-Pao sequencing is more interesting because it's not guaranteed.
We see Josh reading the Arctibac, surprised that it exists in the deck list. I mean, we've seen it once before already in this tournament. Hector bringing it out. It is a weird tech that not all Chien-Pao lists, in fact, almost no Chien-Pao lists currently are playing this Arctibacs, but it could be a little bit of a consistency boost where if you don't have anything to grab with Irida anyways, you might as well evolve one of your Frigibacs, get it ready.
It's also interesting because the Arctibacs actually can take a KO here if we get
True.
2 energy.
Yeah, it could. So can the Frigibacs, I think. I think this is the right one. Oh, this one can't. Oh, yes, it can. It's a 60 HP Charmander,
it's a 60
right?
HP Mander.
So Frigibacs could KO the Charmander here, potentially, if we see that be the line. Just a raw Back Caliber deck. Don't even need the Chien-Paos, honestly. Frigibacs, Bidoof, Radiant Greninja. What will Hector choose to attack with? Again, no Cologne in this list right now for Hector. So these benched Pokemon are safe for now. No double prize KO coming from Radiant Greninja.
A bit of hesitation here on what to discard with the Ultra Ball. It looks like he does go with the double water energy there. Maybe considering keeping the water either for future concealed cards or to try and get an attack off early here. Could
even attach return, maybe, potentially. I wonder if Hector maybe could have attached last turn this Frigibac to try and threaten knockout without even getting back Caliber. That would have been pretty funny. But instead, Hector just benching the second Bidoof, like I was saying, shoring up any weaknesses that this board has, making sure that there is always potential for a second barrel, even if Josh were to start chasing them down. I like that a lot. I think that is one of the best win conditions that Charizard has to try and punish Chien-Pao by going after their support Pokemon.
We do see the Arctibacs hit. Yeah, maybe we don't.
I think Bax Caliber is on the bench and Arctibacs is in hand. It's kind of hard to tell with the full art Pokemon.
Yeah, the Arctibacs, Hector considering evolving the active before using Industrious Incisors, but electing to draw the cards first and see what he has in hand. We do get 1 energy, choosing to use it to retreat here.
Interesting, to retreat into Radiant Greninja and evolving into the Arctibacs and just passing.
Just because the Radiant Greninja is the one that Hector is most comfortable losing here with the Manaphy seeing play, the Moonlight Shuriken is not as useful as it would be otherwise. You can take the same knockouts with a 1-prizer with both the Arctibacs and the Bax Caliber here, so...
I kind of like the idea, though, behind the knockout with Frigibacs option, to be honest. If Hector had the required energy, and we know Hector Ultra Ball 2 of them away, we got the phase cam reaction. Maybe there were too many cards, too many resources in Hector's hand that he could not fathom getting rid of, in which case you had to Ultra Ball away the 2 waters. But for the most part, we see Charmander evolving into a Pidgeot. No, actually just going to revert that, evolve the Pidgeot on the bench. Makes a lot of sense here. And Josh playing a pretty typical Charizard game, but typical means good for the most part for Charizard. It means you have your Pidgeot out, it means you have your Charizard out. It is exactly what you need. We see Pidgeot using that quick search now, looking for the rare candy. I bet you there's a Charizard or an Ultra Ball in hand as we speak, so that you can use that Infernal Rain to shut up your board, and there is the Charizard. So finally, we are going to get our first knockout of the game. It is getting late. Our players are getting a little bit excited about showing off their decks here on stream today.
If there's one thing you can grant this Charizard deck, it is for sure consistent. With the Pidgeot Quick Search plus the Forest Seal Stone, searching any 2 cards in your deck, you get that rare candy and the Charizard. and you're getting your turn 2 knockout almost every time with just an Ultra Ball and a rare candy.
So the turn 2 knockout will happen. Josh will go down to 5 prizes. Hector will still be at 6. Hector going to go for that 2-2-2 line after foregoing the KO on the 1 prizer last turn. And for the viewers at home, when we say 2-2-2, we just mean taking 2 prizes every turn for the next 3 turns. That is Hector's best chance at winning. Of course, it is more difficult than it sounds. You have to draw the right pieces at the right time to do so. We see Hector playing that Irida now. What do you suppose Hector will be attacking with this turn?
I think the Chien-Pao has to come out this turn. You did see the Charizard hit the board. And again, you've effectively bought yourself a turn by putting Josh on an odd prize map here. It's worth considering now that Countercatcher is active, and we could look to knock out the Pidgeot just to disrupt the engine here. The Forest Sealstone is used so that removes all of Josh's search options on the board. But I think taking out this active Charizard is just as nice, but we do have the 2 Manders already up on the bench waiting to evolve. But the Attach Retreat comes in, and we see a Shivery Chill. We're already building up 3 energy here of the 6, I believe, required to get the knockout on the Charizard.
So in this situation, for our chat, for our viewers at home, Hector, if everything goes perfectly, if everything goes exactly according to plan, Hector should win this game. Because if you think about it, Hector can take 2 prizes here, 2 prizes next turn, 2 prizes the following turn, and will beat out Josh in the prize race. That being said, there are things that Josh can do, such as Collapsadium, Away the Rotom, for example, to make that more difficult, and then use Radiant Charizard as an attacker, for example. Can Iono even to slow down Hector and make sure that he misses a turn? If you're Josh and you're staring down this scary board of 2 Barrel, Baxcalibur, and an Arctibax, what exactly are you planning on doing? Do you still gust down the Barrel? Do you go for the Baxcalibur? Do you just knock out the Chien-Pao?
At this point, I feel like your goal is to make Hector have to hit as many pieces as possible to make that plan consistent. So I think there's really 2 ways to do that. And one is to go after these Bibarels, and the other is to go after the Baxcalibur. Hector will be down to 4 prizes, so if you can do some kind of hand disruption and disable that protection from the 2 Bibarels, you can potentially stop Hector's prize map from coming to reality. That said, it seems pretty difficult. Again, with the double Bibarel, it doesn't feel very, very useful. And while you don't know... we do take the 3rd Chien-Pao off the prizes. I was going to mention that being prized gives Josh an out by KOing both Chien-Paos, but after shuffling them after the Hisuian Heavy Ball, we have all 3 Chien-Paos in deck or in play. But it looks like Josh is going for that Bibarel there. I'm not sure if this is going to be... It should be KO'd this turn, but even if it's not, this does potentially slow Hector down if he has to use 2 energy to retreat that Bibarel and doesn't have the energy in hand or the energy retrieval to knock out the Pidgeot.
I think we're probably just going to take a knockout here, is my guess, from Josh's side of the field, unless the hand is really that bad. But my assumption here is that there's a Rare Candy Charizard waiting in the wings, knocking out this Bibarel, and then Hector will go down to 2, and then Josh could maybe knock out the last one, combine that with an Iono to win the game from there. That's what I'm predicting to come out of Josh, but we'll have to see. Maybe you're right. Maybe there's no Rare Candy at all and just can't evolve this turn. Okay, so it's Iono first.
We do see the Iono.
Before Quick Search. So Josh is really hoping for either Charizard or Rare Candy here. We know one is in the discard, one is in the prizes. Maybe we should have seen Super Rod to put back Charizard before this play happened, just to make the odds a little bit more likely. There is no Charizard and there is no Rare Candy. So unfortunately for Josh, there will be no attack this turn. This Bibarel hopefully will have to be stuck in the active if Josh wants a chance to win this game. Otherwise, it just might be too difficult grabbing the Ghastly to sacrifice to Hector. The Ghastly not for this matchup at all,
Hey,
really.
maybe we can go into Allure and draw a card instead of instant charging for 3. Oh, wait. Taking it back? No, we're not taking it back. All right. The Ghastly does hit the bench, and I think this is all right because you can just put it in the active so that you're not giving up 2 prizes this turn. Currently, Hector has bench locked himself out of
That's
the
true.
Iron Hands, so we can safely put up one of our 1 prizers and stall for a turn.
I think what maybe Josh was considering is getting one of the Charizard pieces for next turn, so either Rare Candy or Charizard EX, to make sure that the play could happen. But instead, just going to use Instant Charge and hope that that they find a piece off of that Instant Charge, and they do, getting that Ultra Ball off of the Instant Charge.
And it's worth considering, that the Greninja has already left play, and of course there are Super Rods in Hector's deck, but even if you don't grab that Ghastly, you can maybe give up the Manaphy right now, and then later on in the game it won't really matter because you won't have 2 prizes to offer on the bench.
Very true, but instead going for this Ghastly play and gets rewarded for it, grabbing Ultra Ball off of that Instant Charge, meaning that Josh does have an attack lined up for next turn. Hector, I mean, I have to imagine that he can retreat this turn, but taking another 1 prizer isn't great. It doesn't really accelerate your win condition. It does mean that Hector is still ahead, but in this case, maybe Hector can find the Prime Catcher. There are 2 barrels to make the digging even easier.
At the same time, at the start of Hector's turn, he did play down the second Baxcalibur and then the Cypher Maniac's Code Breaking.
We see the Prime Catcher onto that Pidgeot EX, and Hector not only getting to go down to 2 prizes, but taking out a valuable support piece from Josh. And with 2 barrels and 2 Baxcalibur still in play, it feels like Hector has almost checkmate available. I mean,
the Cypher Maniac is such a powerful tool for Chien-Pao now.
It is.
Where, it's a deck that already wanted to play these Bibarels, and you can essentially guarantee that you get these cards whenever you need them. The Prime Catcher just being incredibly useful here. I mean, Josh might not even be able to set up the Charizard this turn as well if they don't draw well here.
This is pretty much the prime setup for Chien-Pao. You can't really ask for anything better than this. 2 Bibarel, 2 what's his name? Baxcalibur. Yeah, Baxcalibur, 2 Bibarel. It's getting late, chat. 2 Baxcalibur, 2 Bibarel. This is exactly what Chien-Pao needs to close the game. Josh still at 5 prizes, can take 2 here, but so much draw power left for Hector. Only difficulty is that there is 1 superior prized. So I think 2 have been played. I think 1 is remaining in deck. It'll come down to if Hector can find it off of something like an Irida.
There was, I just realized, there was another option for a line earlier for Josh, which is that when you have this perfect setup in theory for Hector, what they can do is find the Collapse Stadium in the deck, and then whichever Mon Hector chooses to put in the discard, you grab the other one of that, and that's your best opportunity at disruption.
That's true. In this case, Hector, I guess, might discard the Chien-Pao. We'll see. But then you would knock out the other Chien-Pao and just hope that Hector can't really do much. So, I mean, the play could still happen here. We see Iono come through. Radiant Charizard being played to kind of offset this prize trade once again. But there's no Fire Energy and no Charizard in hand either. So the Ultra Ball grabbing the Radiant Charizard instead of the Charizard EX ends up being a miss because this Iono doesn't draw into what Josh needs. Fire Energy or Charizard EX would have been the outs here, but drawing into neither and just probably going to have to pass.
There is the Collapsed, but again, we don't have the attacker to follow up with it. Retreating into the Ghastly once again.
And a pass on over. Hector out of Prime Catcher now. Can't bench Iron Hands, so can't win the game this turn, I don't think, but getting closer and closer to the victory. Josh forgetting to instant charge, Hector allowing it. We see the Shivery Chill from Chien-Pao grabbing 2 energies potentially from the deck. It looks like just 1, maybe the rest are in the discard here. Hector is running out of superior energy retrieval, and it might end up being the last prize.
Do you know how many superiors were played? I think 2?
I believe it's 2. I believe it's 2.
Do we see it in hand? I will say it's not too important to get it this turn necessarily. It's, again, because we didn't... Hector knows that Josh didn't have the energy to charge up Radiant Charizard last turn. So this turn, Josh would need a switching option and the energy for Radiant Charizard. And so passing here doesn't really lose you a turn as Hector. That said, I mean, of course, taking the prize is nice regardless.
Josh could top deck like Charizard EX and then retreat the Ghastly that way, potentially.
True.
And we do know that there are 3 extra cards from the instant charge that we didn't get to see before, so it's looking fairly likely that Josh can do something this turn. So Hector would like to take at least 1 prize to put on some pressure and make it so that whatever Josh sends up is game ending.
We do have the Arven there that could potentially find an Ultra Ball if the Charizard EX isn't otherwise there.
So Hector's actually using the last... Oh, is that Super Rod maybe? Or Superior? I think it's the last Superior. Because I saw those Water Energy go straight into hand potentially. Or maybe it's just off screen on the discard still. I'm not sure. But looks like he's actually considering it at least. 2 Water Energy attached to the Chien-Pao. I'm not sure if Superior was used or not there. I think it might have been. But if so, that would have been the 3rd and last Superior until Hector grabs this one. If Hector grabs this one off the prizes.
Would you say it's correct to flood the board here with the waters? Or just,
Hector grabs the Superior. Wow. That is massive. That Superior makes a whole world of difference. And we see the counter catcher up a barrel. Can Josh get a knockout this turn? Hector showing the Superior, but Josh not knowing if could potentially hand disrupt.
Oh, it looks like
Hector showing the hand. Josh will scoop to save time, showing that, hey, I have game in hand if you don't do anything about it. I think Josh could have done something about it if they had access to something like an Iono or Roxanne, but I don't think they did. So
I just think it was a little early to show the hand.
Yeah, unless Josh was like, I don't have hand disruption for sure, then maybe you can show it. In that case, either way, Hector will grab the first victory, going up in the set 1-0. Now, Hector does have to switch over to Tina.
Right.
And it's going to be really tough for Zard to overcome Tina.
It's interesting because previously Tina had a pretty decent matchup into Charizard pre-rotation,
it was already okay.
But that was mainly because of Pass to the Peak, wouldn't you say?
Yes, I think that was a pretty big factor.
And now that that's rotated, the matchup is probably a bit more challenging, but we do have Iron Leaves EX now available to swing that matchup.
Yes, it loses a big piece of the matchup that it had previous, so you would use Pass to the Peak along with Roxanne, and that would shut off Pidgeot, and then you would force Charizard to find something like a Lost Vacuum off of a Mew, Celebrations Mew potentially, to bump that Pass to the Peak to get access back to your Quick Search. Doesn't exist anymore, no more Pass to the Peak, so Charizard is safe from that play, but instead, Iron Leaves, what was the ability name called again?
Rapid Vernier.
Rapid Vernier. Rapid Vernier's right into the active, taking out that Charizard EX for 2 prizes, and now that means you have basically 2 blow-up options from the Lost Tina deck. You have Rapid Vernier into Prism Edge, Rapid Vernier into Prism Edge, and you also have Star Requiem. So you have 2 ways to do more than enough damage, an instant KO onto Charizard, and that usually is enough to seal up the game, usually.
I will say, Prism Edge does 180, which with weakness hits for 360. A Charizard EX with Hero's Cape attached has 430 HP.
That is
true.
It is
not as simple as it seems for our Tina player here. And in that game, I don't believe the Hero's Cape was shown, but it's very possible that Hector is already aware of it.
Hero's Cape hasn't really seen the light of day yet on stream, except in Guardy. Of course, in Guardy, it has kind of a different use. It can be used just for the HP, but it can also be used as a damage modifier. We see Hector getting to go first in this matchup, Josh choosing second with Zard. Zard probably isn't the matchup that Josh wants to bring to this, but is thinking, hey, I need to beat Hector with 2 of my decks anyways. Might as well try Zard once again. And Hector grabbing the Spiritomb right away. Little does Hector know, Josh actually prized the Rotom, so it doesn't really stop much unless Josh was planning to Lumineon. But it's the right play from Hector because
Without the knowledge of the Rotom being
yes.
prized, it's definitely a good call to bring out that Spiritomb to disrupt this Charizard setup. With that said, on the other side, we do see a Grass, a Water, and a Colress prize, notably. I believe there's 2 Water in the deck, so I don't think that a... Oh, sorry, no, there's 3 Water because we just saw one hit the
I think
discard
Hector
and
has
one
3.
hit the Lost Zone, but with one hitting the Lost Zone, at the moment, we can't hit a Moonlight Shuriken until we get that Water out of the prize cards. But of course, Josh doesn't know that, aside from seeing the Water in the discard and the Lost Zone, and I wouldn't be surprised to see a Manaphy hit the bench anyway.
Josh nest balling for Charmander here, maybe noticing that Rotom is prized, but either way, probably not going for it because of that Spiritomb. Double checking before this Iono is played. We just need Pidgey on the board. Just need Pidgey. We just need Rare Candy Pidgeot. It's hard to do so without Rotom, but it's definitely doable. We might have to see Lumineon getting benched just for Sealstone access.
Sealstone, yeah.
Which feels bad for sure, but whatever you can do to play the game.
I mean, yeah, if we could get an Arven off at any point, I think your setup is still going to be fine. Oh.
Some cards being revealed off the top. Just going to shuffle that up. It is in a randomized state, so it makes sense just to shuffle and let it play out.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, in an official stream, that probably is a TPL, just to reveal those cards, but we're going to let it slide here.
It's fully reversible. It's fine.
Yeah, I agree. It's really reversible. There's no advantage to be had by seeing those cards if you shuffle them back into your deck.
And the deck search has already happened.
Yes,
so in theory, they would know what their prizes are. We do see an Ultra Ball here. We could Ultra Ball for the... we could hold the Ultra Ball for a Lumineon next turn and just delay our setup a little bit. But you can also just go for the Rare Candy Charizard with the Ultra Ball next turn. What do you think, Vic?
This turn, Josh did choose to hold the Ultra Ball. I think I would have done the same because the attack really has to be... It has to come out next turn.
This turn, you're holding the Ultra Ball for sure because you're not going to play it. You wouldn't play a Lumineon because you can't play your supporter anyway, and you wouldn't be able to evolve into the Charizard EX either. But is there a world where you pick the Lumineon over going for your Charizard setup?
It kind of depends. I guess Lumineon would let you get Poffin as well, which would be nice. So you Lumineon, you get Arven, you get
Poffin and
Sealstone, you get Charizard, or...
Oh, we do have the Charizard in hand. So actually, the Oh, wait, but we have Arven in hand as well. This is an interesting hand to start with. It would be really nice if we had a Pidgey in play right now.
Yeah, Ultra Ball could have maybe grabbed Pidgey, but there's just not enough cards in the hand to just discard to get rid of, so...
We do see 4 cards hit the Lost Zone for Hector, now up to 6 with that Colress experiment played.
It's interesting that Hector chooses to Lost Zone the Cram here. I don't know what he's going to attack with then. I guess just going for the Ninja this turn, but we know that one Water's energy is lost and one is prized, so the Ninja can't quite attack.
That is interesting. Oh, there's a second cram.
Okay. In that case, it's probably just second cram. No way to get to 10 for Sableye, no way to get to 7 and attack with Ninja, given how many Water energies have been played already. So the Spit Innocently might just happen, and a pretty good start from Hector.
Yeah, a lovely position. You're more than happy to be at 6 and on turn 2 with a lone Charmander on the opposite side. Of course, Hector doesn't know that Josh has the Rare Candy Charizard in hand, and with that Arven, we will be able to get the Buddy Poffin to recover our bench a little bit.
Hero's Cape is coming out, so maybe Josh will play this to get around the potential of Iron Leaves coming in and taking the KO. I think that might be what we see here. If there is a turn to do it, it's probably a turn where Hector can't respond with a Star Requiem, right? Because Star Requiem does get a full knockout no matter how much HP your opponent's Pokemon has. So if there's any turn to do this play, it probably is this one.
And we have already revealed it by grabbing it with the Arven there, so I think it's correct to just play it here.
Can Hector get to 10? It's definitely reasonable. Just need Colress and 2 Comfey into that Star Requiem.
Hector was the one that was playing vacuums as well, right? We do have a lost vacuum in the deck,
I can check, but I do remember Edwin playing 2 vacuums, and I don't know if Hector was. I assume no, given there's 2 Cram in the list, so there's not much space to work with, but I can double check.
The Manaphy does hit the bench here, despite there not being a Ninja in play. Hector did take the water off of the prizes, importantly, so Josh couldn't have known this, but that was the perfect timing to stop the ninja play from happening.
I did check this. Oh, Ghastly in hand again for Josh, our star MVP. I did check Hector's deck list. There is one copy of Last Vacuum. So there are two ways around this cape. Well, there's multiple if you include bossing around it, of course. But
Well,
for
the vacuum
knocking out,
also could just get you to 10.
that's
right?
true. That's true. So you have a couple options here. You can vacuum to get rid of the hero's cape to knock out Charizard with something like Iron Leaves. You can use the vacuum to get to 10 to get you to Star Requiem, or you can use the vacuum to get you to 10 to potentially Sableye and knock out two things on the bench. That feels pretty good too, especially given that this Pidgey is now live and potentially wanting to become a Pidgeot next turn.
We do see that important 7 cards in the Lost Zone hit, and a Mirage Gate hit the discard as we search for a couple energies here. I assume they're going to end up on that Giratina V, but we could also see that Iron Leaves hit the bench immediately after and just take those.
I imagine, considering we haven't seen Colress come out this turn yet, I don't think there's a Colress or a Vacuum in play, which means Hector might not have a way to knock out this Charizard or really punish Josh at all. I mean, this turn, a Sableye would be massive, a knockout on Charizard would be massive.
So something interesting here is you can just let the hero's cape stay in play, right? You get the Charizard to 330, you keep the damage from Charizard at 180 so that you can never take the one-shot on a Tina V, and then you bring your Sableye into play, spread damage around, and then vacuum to take the 2 prizes on a turn that you take another knockout with your Star Requiem and really damage Josh's board state.
There is a danger to that, given that Josh plays Turo, I believe. So so it could potentially come back to bite you, but you're right that there is definitely viability to that play, especially if Josh didn't play Turo. It'd probably actually be the optimal play, if anything. But Hector actually has a Colress, so we'll go up to 10 in the Lost Zone now. Thinking about what to choose, actually Lost Zoning away a Colress before even considering Lost Zoning away Roxanne. I don't know about this Nest Ball Lost Zone here. Do we have enough to take a knockout with Sableye? Because if so, I think I would rather keep the Nest Ball to be able to play that Sableye. But no, just going to Lost Zone it, going back to that Radiant Greninja, potentially using that concealed card for 2 more. What will Hector attack with this turn? This turn has gone on for so long, I don't know yet what the final attack will be.
It's really hard to say here. What if is there a world where you shred here?
You could, and Josh will only be doing 210 unless they find a tool, in which case I think...
Well, you can't put the... I guess if you'd have to evolve the benched...
Yes, you'd have to evolve the bench Charizard and then find a tool. But I don't think Josh actually plays any tools to help get over the finish line and knock out a 220 HP Pokemon if you're only doing 210.
But we did hit 10 in the Lost Zone this turn, so it's possible. It's like Star Requiem is online if we found that Giratina VSTAR and the Mirage Gate or other way of attaching energy. We do only need the 1 grass. Of course, we know that 1 is in the prizes and 1 is in the Lost Zone, but there is another... Oh, but that grass is being used to retreat. I assume there's a Mirage Gate in hand? No, it's the Super Rod.
Super Rod into Mirage Gate, most likely, into Star Requiem to take 2. Makes the most sense, but I would have liked to see Sableye come down. I think it would have been possible because Hector did lost on an S-Ball, so I would have liked to see a Sableye attack this turn instead because... Yes, you get to take 2 prizes here. Yes, you get to knock out Josh's Charizard and put on more pressure, make Josh evolve into another Charizard instead of maybe this Pidgeot. But those bench Pokemon are in threat of getting evolved and basically becoming non-issues for Josh. I think you want to get rid of those liabilities as soon as possible, but this play, given that Josh only has 2 cards in hand, probably ends up working out well for Hector either way.
Yeah, if you take those benched Mons out, and Josh responds with anything that isn't knocking out that Sableye, you've effectively put them in a position where they can no longer bench a single Charmander. And I believe they run 360s.
It might be 4.
Sorry, I think it's all 60s. So there's not a situation where Josh can get out of this with 1 Buddy Poffin, for example, if you hit that Sableye attack. So I definitely agree that that would have been a very nice play. And of course, that also, because of the tool on the Hero's Cape on the Charizard, means that the Giratina VSTAR, if you evolved it that same turn, would not be in danger of getting knocked out by the Charizard as well.
We see the Roxanne come through after the counter catcher, bringing up the Giratina V. Josh really hoping for a very candy Charizard in this case. It would be a little bit abnormal to see both of those cards in the 6-card hand, but not unusual. We've seen crazier things happen. Hector going to go down to 2. This is one win condition that Josh has under their belt, but they basically do need to find a KO this turn. I think it's just way too slow if we were to whiff it again. Oh, they're counting the energy in Josh's discard pile. It might be too many, especially given that 1 is in the prizes. Josh might not have enough to play the game without Super Rod, and asking for Super Rod and Charizard and Rare Candy just might be a little bit too much.
Okay, I saw the Super Rod and the Charizard, I think.
But I don't think there's a Rare
but
Candy.
I don't think, yeah, it's so unfortunate.
It's just Charmeleon, so you will be able to do the play next turn, given if there is no Sableye. And it looks like Hector is bench locked at least, so you have that going for you. But if Hector finds Boss this turn, and a way to knock out this Charmeleon, it's basically game over.
If Hector wasn't bench locked, that Flare Veil Charmeleon would at least be quite nice because we avoid the danger of Sableye.
That's true, but getting your Pidgey and your Manaphy knocked out both and going down to 1 prize can't be
I mean, it's definitely
either.
not ideal.
Yeah.
And we have a Tina V-Star sitting there all ready to power up a Rapid Vernier Iron Leaves EX if we need.
So you see a switch being played going into Comfey. Hector using that flower selecting, already concealed cards once, but hasn't played a supporter yet. Looking for something like that Roxanne, looking for something like that Colress to keep the hand going, looking to take a knockout of some sort this turn.
It's a challenging decision, though, because we do have that grass energy in the flower selecting, and we already have one in the Lost Zone. It's a situation where if you keep that grass energy and you find the Iron Leaves, there's a chance that just wins you the game.
So Hector choosing the grass energy over the Roxanne. We know 1 is in the prizes, 1 is in the Lost Zone. I think that weighed heavy on Hector's mind. And because Hector didn't take the Roxanne and instead chose the grass energy, does mean that Hector will not have an attack at all this turn.
And Josh gets to get their Charizard EX out here. And of course, assuming we have the 3rd energy, which I believe we do, we get to retreat this Manaphy and start attacking. I don't know if we have a gusting option available for Josh here, but it would be very nice to target one of those 2 prizers, I believe.
Josh used the counter catcher last turn, so I'd be surprised if there's another, but we do know that Josh plays 3 of those counter catchers, so it's possible. It's possible that there's another. No Pidgeot access yet. I think I saw Lumineon in hand maybe, but I'm not sure.
But there is the Spiritomb in play.
Oh, right. So. That's true. Forgot about that. Has been in play since turn 1 and has just been being this nuisance for Josh here.
Mm-hmm.
Only 1 Charizard left. And that means Hector is in prime position to send off this Iron Leaves attack using that Prism Edge after the Rapid Vernier. Can we find it?
I feel like sure at this point Hector's deck is pretty thin.
The one thing though about Iron Leaves though is that the ability Rapid Vernier only activates when you play it from hand, right? So if you have the Nest Ball, you can get the Iron Leaves, but if you Nest Ball for it, you would need to combo that with Mirage Gate or of some sort. Don't know if Hector has that. So basically, if Hector doesn't want to use the gate and wants to instead utilize that ability, has to find the Iron Leaves raw by itself. This Tina deck typically doesn't play anything like that Ultra Ball, so Josh still in it, still has a chance, hanging on for dear life to try and make it to the finals.
In this situation, as Hector, I feel like once again you're in this spot where, you know, like, yes, you really just want to find your Iron Leaves this turn. But if you don't, I really don't have a problem with just trying to find the Sableye,
Sableye's
putting
not
it
bad.
down, getting rid of that bench. And we do see the Sableye come down. I know we have 2 Psychic Energy on the board. I don't believe any are Lost Zoned. So I think this Mirage Gate should be able to hit one.
Hector double checking the Lost Zone to make sure. Psychic on the Sableye. grass or water on the Comfey makes a lot of sense to me. And actually, what I would like to see from Hector this turn is knock out Pidgey and then put some damage on Charizard to make the 280 dream a possibility.
I like that.
I think knocking out the Manaphy going down to 1 prize doesn't really do anything for you, and it goes back to that even odd prize trading. You don't really need to take 7 prizes in the game. You only need to take 6, right? So taking that extra odd prize doesn't do that much for you, whereas putting damage on the Charizard means that it's in lost impact range. You might not even need the Iron Leaves anymore to close out the game.
That's true. I will say that the threat posed by the Tina VSTAR and the Iron Leaves are kind of the same one, right? Where if you KO the Tina VSTAR, there is no longer the energy on the board for the Iron Leaves, and either way, you have to find a way to get the energy from the deck. But with 2 Tina VSTARs in play, that changes completely, and it's a situation where it seems pretty easy to me to make the call to put that damage on the Charizard EX here.
Prime Catcher up Manaphy. Pidgey knocked out, Charizard
Sure
EX
enough.
taking the rest of the damage. What can Josh do, if anything?
I mean, at this point, as Hector, eventually Josh has to take prize cards to win. So if you just sit here and start loading your or just put a third energy on both of your Tina VSTARs, I don't believe there's a way for Josh to win this.
The Spirit Team actually being quite annoying here in this matchup, doing more work than I thought it would. But VSTAR active live for Josh.
Looks like we're looking for the Iono here. It will bring Hector down to 2 cards, and with just the 1 Comfey on the bench to search and possibly a concealed cards, it doesn't seem too likely that Hector would get much further.
It is true that Hector is actually 1 piece away from winning the game still, even if Josh does attack with this Charizard instead of finding something like that Radiant Charizard to attack with.
Yes.
So it's possible that the Iono stops Hector for a turn or 2, but it doesn't look likely. There's got to be at least some energy left in deck.
There are quite a few outs at this point, right? Any energy, the Iron Leaves itself.
Iron Leaves would be an out as well, yeah. Josh asking if their energy is in hand. Not quite yet. Hector says, flower selecting, looking for it. Manaphy and Boss's orders, I believe.
Interesting. I don't think either of those win the game here. Is that just a pass from Hector?
I think so. I think we saw Josh pumping their hand into the air. Could survive yet another day here.
Tidying up that lost zone.
Josh needs to miss. Sorry, Hector needs to miss for just 1 more turn after this one for Josh to win the game here. Hector now counting energy, making sure that he didn't play this one incorrectly. Retreating now into the Comfey and flower selecting. There's a switch in hand. Super Rod. Super Rod puts the energy back in the deck. Is there a Mirage Gate to get them out of there?
I think we played 3 Mirage Gates, right? So they should be, and I think 1 was in the lost zone.
Yeah,
so
we might be out of Mirage Gate, so we might just have to...
I think this is just Hector maximizing his odds on the next turn, because as long as... I mean, there's so many outs in the deck. That's why Hector was looking at the energy that's in the lost zone, because any energy draw at this point just seals up the game for Hector.
So here, Josh, I guess, just has to take the KO on Comfey, and then if there's a way to get Roxanne, that would be best. Even Iono doesn't help you out here, because Iono would just get you closer to and the boss's orders to make it just a little bit more awkward for Josh. I think Josh had the Miss Energy in hand, so it's fine.
And we do have energy to index still, I believe, with the Super Rod having been played for the energy that was previously used for the first Charizard.
I guess ideally you would have liked to attack with Radiant Charizard this turn, instead of this Charizard EX is already damaged.
We might be able to find it with that Arvin.
But you don't have Switch, I would guess. Josh would have to find Switch and Radiant Charizard. Instead, going for the Turo, going for the knockout, knowing that if Hector has it, he has it. Drawing the top deck,
and
there's a water
the energy and the Switch.
And that is game. Hector moving on to our finals. 2-0, coming back from that 3-2 start, squeaking into our top 4 thanks to that tiebreaker. And it was a grindy set, but 2-0 means that Hector moves on decisively into our finals.
It was a really interesting set. That Tina versus Charizard, like we were mentioning at the start, we felt that Iron Leaves EX was an opportunity to swing that matchup, and we never saw it.
We never did.
We never saw it see play, and Tina by itself managed to disrupt Charizard's setup enough to make it through.
Although it didn't matter this time, it did feel like it increased the odds of Tina winning throughout the game.
Sure,
there was always a time where, like,
out.
yes, one more out, and the out that Hector got instead was not the leaves. But I think that matchup, I remember Josh was saying downstairs that it felt unwinnable, and I think that might be one of the reasons why Josh ended up going with 4 60 HP Charmanders, because if you thought it was winnable, you would probably play like 2 70 HP Charmanders or whatnot. Unfortunate for Josh that they had to run into a poor matchup, but good run regardless, making it to top 4 off of a 4-1 victory, and both of our 3X players moving on to finals now. One last match to decide the winner of Chicago Clash before we send it off to a break and maybe get an interview in. Who do you think will win in the finals?
That's really tough to say. I think Hector played incredibly there, and I would be happy to see him win.
Okay, you heard it here first. Let's see if it comes true. But in the meantime, take a quick break. We'll be back in just a moment, but don't go too far because we'll see you soon.
Hello and welcome back, everybody, to Chicago Clash. We are about to get into the finals of the event. I'm super excited, super nervous to see what happens and which decks take it all the way. Before we get into that, I have a little interview here with the one and only Josh Frink. Josh, first of all, tell me how much you love Charizard EX.
You know, Charizard's just the coolest Pokemon ever, and I love Charizard so much. And actually, what makes Charizard the coolest is that it's a dragon and
a lizard.
Yeah. Like, oh God, yeah, Charizard, you know?
He's a really powerful Pokemon, so makes a lot of sense.
Well, it's been nice interviewing.
Congratulations and everything. Top 4 had a very clean run to get into the top 4 in general. You basically had to cut locked up super early in general.
Yeah.
How did your run through the tournament in the group stages go?
So group stages went really well. I came into the event expecting a lot of Snorlax, and there was not a lot of Snorlax.
Right. Was there any? It was just Jeremy in your group, right?
Yeah, Sky played Pidge Control.
Right.
And Minior...
Was Sky in your group?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So you were in that group, yeah.
Yeah, Minior did win me the game against Sky because I was able to hands a Rotom for 3 prizes. But, like, I don't even know. There was just, like, a bunch of random matchups, and I feel like there's no deck that beats, except Snorlax, that beats Zard and Pao. So yeah, it was a pretty clean run through. I lost to Michael, but I played so bad in the Guardy matchup. I benched I triple benched Frigivax because I was worried that he was going to Mew EX my Greninja and kill my 2 Fridge. And I had a Bidoof prize, but so I was knocking out the Mew, and I was worried that he was going to, like, rot it back in and go for that play. And we talked about it after, and I think it was probably more correct to dig for Heavy Ball to get Bidoof back. Other than that, I think I played pretty well throughout the day. And then, yeah, Zard just, like, loses to Palutena. So when I knew I hit Hector, I was like, I don't know. And the deck was not functioning either. Right. I was trying so hard to win that Pal game. Hector was like, I think I have it locked up. And in my head, I was like, well, if I get the Charizard here, and I Charizard, and I get my Hero's Cape, then I can collapse Stadium, my 2-prizer, and promote a Charizard with a Hero's Cape. And unless he is able to super rod twice and get 4 energy back in deck, I can, and I like drew into like Roxanne, collapse, missed energy, Boffin, whatever it was. I was so mad.
Yeah, I know. You were saying earlier, like, you just had so high odds to get like a Radzard play, right?
Yeah. That turn, I needed to hit the Radzard to take the 2 prizes, and I think I looked at my prizes, and I think I would have taken the Hero's Cape. So there was definitely like plays to be made. Because if I can go Evolve Zard, even if he bundles, then I can just push the other Zard.
Sure.
Well, maybe. I don't know. He could still just get 6 energy. I don't know. Maybe I was cooked, but I was trying so hard.
Yeah, for sure.
What can you do?
What can you do? Sometimes the cards just don't go your way. Kind of stepping a little bit back then for deck selection for this event. Obviously, EUIC in
Yep.
under 6 days now.
Yeah.
Super exciting to have it this close. And I know you were very particular, like, I can't leak any of my sauce for the event for this. I got to be very careful.
Yeah.
So what kind of led you to go down the path of Chien-Pao?
Yeah, so I did my favorite thing to do every morning. I wake up and I go, what controversial thing can I put on Twitter that's not going to make people hate my guts? And a tier list is usually like a good option for that. So I made a tier list.
I did see the tier list.
Yeah, I made a tier list last night, and like some people were upset about Ancient Box, but yeah, I mean, I put Chien-Pao as the number 1 and number 2 deck, and I stand by those things. I think Zard is in an interesting spot because Zard is a very like linear deck kind of in general. It's a little bit less so now because you can kind of tech with like Airy and Mist and those things. But if people hard tech for Zard is going to lose.
Right.
But I mean, like if the power level just like of every deck, Charizard Pidgeot is just so much stronger than everything else.
Sure.
Like that deck is crazy. You have access to everything the whole game, and then there's like actually a good amount of like extra tech room. Like I wasted mine on playing Gengar, but like you could play so much stuff. Like if I had the Airy in there, I might have been able to do something against the POW or something. But Hector was playing Arctibax, so I don't know.
It was very full, very any kind of cheese proof with that for sure.
Yeah, so
Devo proof and everything.
Right. I think Zard Power just like the 2 best decks. Lugia is probably maybe in there, but I know like
no, you always talk trash about it on Twitter. That can't be true.
Lugia is good.
Nobody brought it.
I know. Well, that's because and a lot of the people here today, I think, are used to playing like one deck, and they play a lot of one deck. And so in a Conquest format like this, I think Turbo Hands was a pretty obvious second deck for like a lot of those players because it's easy.
Very linear, very straightforward. Hard to mess up. It's just down to the generators a lot of the time.
Exactly. So. And so I think there was an expectation that there was going to be a good number of Future Box and a good number of Chien-Pao, right? Because a lot of like Jared is here. I've been gassing up Chien-Pao online. Michael, who didn't even play it, but Michael's been playing a lot of it.
I literally was talking earlier during the cast. I was like, oh yeah, now Tyler's matching to Chien-Pao. How will he react to that? And I was like, wait a second. He's not even playing it. I just assumed.
But. I know. Yeah, but yeah, I mean, like, yeah, I think Future Hands, whatever.
It makes sense to not play it for this, yeah.
Right.
Last thing, any shout-outs you want to do, / where can people find you?
Yeah, so I already shouted my Twitter out and my Metafy out earlier, but if you really want to follow me, I just hit 1,200 followers. Yeah, you can follow me at DreamJew on Twitter. You can find me on Metafy at metafy.gg / at Josh-Frink.
HTTPS,
Yeah. So I do free coaching consultations. So if you're interested in getting some coaching on, I don't know, how to dead draw, you can find me there.
Awesome. All right. Thank you so much, Josh, for participating in this event. Got top 4, still get some money.
Let's go.
Very exciting. And now we're going to go ahead and set up the finals game, and we'll be back with that in just a moment.